Hi, I'm Simon. So, if you're insane as me and you really love using original media, you love the sound of it, you love everything about it, then one thing that you might want to do is make your disc bootable on the BBC. So this video is really all about that. I'll show you what I've done to do that, what you need to do, and how you can get around any issues you have with booting from more than one drive, which you can't use shift brake, spoiler alert, that'll only ever boot from the default drive 0, but there is a workaround you can do. It does involve a bit more typing, but nevertheless. I'd highly recommend, if you've got a BBC, get a copy of this, the disk filing system book. It's really helpful. I found it really useful. So without further ado, enjoy the video. Please subscribe if you like. I've got more BBC stuff coming up. And welcome to Retro Computing Reboot. So this is my setup. I've got my BBC, I've got my Cub monitor, and I've also got my Gotek, and I've also got a floppy disk. I'll just put my camera back on its mount. So why make a bootable floppy disk? Well, the beauty of the BBC is if you've got bootable media installed, which I have on the Gotek here, pressing shift, holding down shift and pressing brake boots that disk. Excuse me. Apologies for the flashing screen. It doesn't flash in real life. But shift brake and boots whatever disk it is. Now, the problem is, for me, is my Gotek is the first drive. So that's drive 0. Just break out of that so you're not suffering that screen. So my Gotek's drive 0, and my floppy drive is drive 1. But shift brake on the BBC, you can only boot from drive 0, which for the Gotek is really quite important, because otherwise you've then got to start doing other stuff. There's a star exec command which you can use, but I'll go into that a little bit later. So what I wanted to do is I still wanted to have media that I could just boot on drive 1, just in relation to the naming of drives on the BBC and other computers, really. Before double-sided drives came in, it was your first drive was drive 0, and then your second drive was drive 1. But with the introduction of double-sided, they couldn't use 1 anymore for the second side of drive 1. So drive 0 became one side drive 0 and the other side of the drive 2. And then on your second drive, the first side became drive 1, and then the other side became drive 3, just to complicate things. So if I go to start drive 1, so I've told the BBC now that I want to use drive 1. If I get my media and put it in, start up. Okay. If I press brake, and do star dot. It's still there, but if I do shift break, it's gone straight back to the Gotek, which for me is no good. What I want to do is star drive 1, and then if I just show you what's on the disk, you can see I've got various different files. The menu, which I'll come to in a minute, and the other thing of interesting is the exclamation boot. Now, the exclamation boot is a short program that you can put onto the drive, which if you press shift break and the disk in drive 0 has the exclamation boot on it, then it will load and execute that code that's in there. Now, for me, what I've done is this. And to make it boot, what I've got to do is got to use a command, start exec, and then the file name. This is effectively the same as if it was on drive 0 and pressing shift break. But because my external drive isn't, my floppy drive isn't drive 0, it's drive 1, I can't use shift break. So there we go. A little program that I wrote, and all those games that I've copied on there, I can just go through the menu and pick something. Let's just pick one. So I wanted to create a disk that I could boot from. I've also got a second BBC and a third BBC, which just has the one drive. I've only got the Gotek for this one. So I can use this disk in one of my other machines and just press shift break, and it will automatically load the exclamation boot file. But for this, I've got to use the star exec command. Now, in terms of creating your disk, if we go star dot, now it's gone back to the Gotek, star drive 1, star dot, abbreviation of star cat, you'll see there we've got option 3, which option 3 allows it to run the basic file. Exclamation boot. So it tells the BBC that this disk is bootable. Without it being set to option 3, it wouldn't do that. So when you create your disk and you put your programs onto it and you want it to be bootable, you've got to tell the BBC that this disk is a bootable disk for it to work. And you do that with star opt for, short for option, and then space, and then the option you want is 3. There are other options, but this is the one that we're interested in. If I change that to 0, which tells the drive to do nothing, hit return, it'll make the change to the disk. If I do star dot, sorry, my camera stops recording. So if I do star opt for 0, star dot, and you'll see option 0, it's no longer telling the BBC it's a bootable disk. So let's put it back to make it bootable. Star opt for 3, star dot, and then once again we're back to having a bootable disk. Great. So how do you make the exclamation boot file? I can hear you asking. Well, That isn't too complicated. The exclamation boot is what the BBC looks for when you press shift break. That's the file that it looks for. And to create one isn't too complicated. What I want the disk to do when it boots is I want it to run menu, which is a little program that I wrote. And from the menu, I can then select whichever game. So what I have done, and what I'll do again, is use the start build command and the file name that I want to create. It's already there, so it'll just overwrite it. Doesn't matter. So it's asking me for the first line of code that it wants to run. So all I want it to do is I want it to load menu and I want it to run. So I'll do that with the chain command, which loads it into memory and then runs it. And then the file name, menu, hit return is looking for another line. You could put several lines of code if you wanted several different instructions to be run, but that's all I need it to do. So I'll escape out of that. That'll now save it to disk. And if I do start exec, which like I say is the same as pressing shift break, start exec, so I do that. And that's, you saw it just pop up there with chain menu, and we're straight into the menu again. Different option this time. And there we are into swoop. So just get rid of that. What disk am I on? Let's come back to the Gotek. Star drive. One. Start up. So the menu program that I wrote, feel free to copy it or do your own to do whatever you want to do. Let's just load it in. Very straightforward program. So nothing complicated there. Just a title, the options that I've put in for the different games that I've put onto the disk. And basically what I've created now is a disk for myself with some of my favourite games on it. And I can either, on one of my other machines with just the one drive, I can press shift break, or on this, start exec, and there we are. So I hope you found that useful. If you did, please subscribe, because I'll do some more stuff on the BBC. Oh, there it goes. Didn't realise there was audio on it. I'll just kill that a second. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, subscribe. I'll be doing some more videos on my BBC. And thank you for watching.